What is up, everybody? Welcome back, baby. Welcome back. It is crunch time, but it's not just any crunch time. It is NBA crunch time. And that, of course, is my favorite of all of them. And man, I'm just so pumped that, the greatest sport in all the land is back and that we have some great experts joining us, helping to break it down. We have, as always, one Mr. Andy Means. What's up, man?
I feel like we were just hanging out a few months ago, were we not?
It was not too long ago, and boom, right back into it. Preseason, and then
let's do it.
Yeah, let's roll. You excited?
Always, man. I love everything about the league, and love doing this show with you. And now we got cards tonight, baby.
Yeah, that is a nice little addition. We got cards. We work together all the time, but not usually for basketball. So cards, good to have you, man.
Yeah, here I am going to try multi-entering a preseason slate for the first time. So I'm getting my feet wet with this. We'll see whether I enjoy or don't enjoy, being on these shows because it's going to force me into playing a little bit more than I usually would for preseason. So TBA on whether or not it was worth it. We'll have to see what the return on investment is with throwing some lineups in, but it should be a lot of fun.
Multi-entering on a preseason slate, what could go wrong?
The people that grind the preseason slates consistently say it's where the money is to be made. So we'll see what we can make out of it. And thankfully, 5 games tonight is a little bit manageable, even though I know Meansy and Alan wrote a mini novel there today, but certainly appreciate the effort put into getting that content out there. And it's not easy. So the people that do grind the news wires for the preseason stuff, there is an edge to be had out there, and hopefully we can help pass some of that along to those of you that are watching us tonight as well.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like it is, I've heard a lot of people say, preseason NBA is a great spot to make some money, do some grinding. It is a ton of work. This show happens to be free. Tomorrow's show is going to be free. Most crunch times are not free. So everyone who is watching on YouTube, if you are enjoying all the content, if you enjoy all the hard work, best thing you can do is sign up for RotoGrinders Core 4 Premium. This means that you get NBA thrown in with NFL, with the other sports. It is by far the best deal in the biz, and now is a fantastic time to sign up. So hopefully Devin can maybe drop in a link there for you to make that happen. In the meantime, guys, it's a day of celebration. Meansy, did I see something out of the corner of my eye there? What was that?
I had a little celebratory beverage of the new season.
What a coincidence. I did as well. So cheers to you, good sir. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, basketball is officially back. Friday night of the season, drinking a beer. It's also briefly a day of mourning. I'm wearing black,
I feel like we're going to hear a JJ Barea story.
Rest in peace, JJ Barea. I love you, brother. Maybe he's trying to sign on to another team, but maybe that will be the last time you hear me say his name through all of the NFL or NBA season.
But aren't you his agent though? You should be working the wires.
I pretty much am. I'm pulling for him to sign in Houston. That way I can go watch him and be a super fan in person.
Not right now. You can't.
No, that's true. But all right, enough of all of that. We've got a ton of content. Means usually when I build teams, I have an idea of what is happening. Preseason, I have no idea what my team looks like. I'm picking some dudes who are stars, some dudes I've never heard of. I don't know who's going to play more or score more. It's just a mess for me. So I need you to break this down generally for me.
All right, yeah. So First and foremost, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is on DK, just because they actually have salaries attached to guys. FanDuel prices everybody the same. You can play whoever you want. Oh. So I'm sure Blender is loving playing on FanDuel tonight.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not going to it's just I like talking about pricing more anyways because it affects things. It's still, you can largely play whoever you want on DraftKings too, just because there's not too many studs you want to pay for as is. So generally what we're looking for is, we have 10 teams tonight. Pretty much everybody, except the guys who have already been rolled out, every team is going to play their normal rotations-ish in the first half. What we're going to try to find is teams who's going to bring their guys out for their third quarter rotations, who might give their guys fourth quarter rotations. There's maybe a team or two that might do that. So we're trying to find as much extended minutes as we can. And if not, for the diamonds in the rough, like the cheap fringe guys who are going to see enough minutes on that end of things and who are good enough per minute producers that we will like them. The pricing's soft enough on DraftKings. Like, it's so hard to like recommend the 11th guy on some team because you also have like Rashawn Holmes, the starting center for the Kings at 4-1, I think. There's just enough guys priced in that general range that you don't have to go too far off the reservation to get guys. So we're going to go game by game when we ultimately go through stuff. So that's the stuff we're going to be looking for. I have a pretty good feel, especially in the first game we'll talk about if we're going based on lineup HQ with Orlando and Atlanta. I have a good feel on teams we have a pretty good idea of who's going to play a lot. Like, a couple of teams, coaches have already come out and said, I have my guys. I want to have my main guys play these many minutes. Other teams are being very vague and saying, we're not going to extend guys too much, blah, blah, blah. So in general, I want to focus on teams who I know are main guys are going to play a certain amount of minutes. If I don't know, I want to focus on young guys. I want to focus on rookies. I want to focus on guys that are trying to earn minutes, earn spots in the rotation. Like on this slate, we have Lakers and Clippers. Those teams played really deep into the bubble. The Hawks haven't played since March 11th. So like, I want to, lean on teams that haven't played in a while too. So just all those things are kind of what's going in my head right now, and all these moving pieces, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, excellent. Cards, you said you're MMEing this slate. Is that right?
Well, I'm trying to see what a script would look like in that sort of scenario. And I think, one of the biggest edges that you can get in these preseason slates is, A, not being afraid to leave salary on the table, and B, not being afraid to fade the big names that, okay, you might have the salary to pay for, say, Aaron Gordon or, Lillard or McCollum. But basically, Orlando's come out and said, hey, we're going to limit Gordon to about 16 minutes tonight. I think Damian Lillard was quoted as saying, I don't anticipate that our primary guys are going to be playing, more than 14, 16 minutes. I can't remember what his exact quote was, but those guys, you don't have to jam them in, even though you might have the salary to do so. What's Lillard's ceiling in 18 minutes? And is he going to go absolutely bonkers in 18 minutes or 16 minutes, in the first preseason game when they're just kind of knocking the rust off? So don't be afraid that, you have to jam in these top end guys just because you have the salary to do it. And you will have the salary to do it. On FanDuel, there is no salary. So, that's where the biggest edge comes from, because there will be a slate where a guy who plays 12 minutes is, maybe 25% owned in the lower dollar GPPs. So don't feel like you need to play the big names. In some cases, a player that's not as good, that's getting twice as many minutes is going to be more valuable, even though he might be a couple $1,000s cheaper. So don't fall for that trap of the traditional, I have to use all of my salary, or I have to use all but $100 or $200 of my salary. You really don't have to do that in the preseason slates. So that's just something to keep an eye on if you're new to doing it.
Okay, great. And with that, I feel like we've kind of, we've eased our way in. We started the show 10 minutes earlier than we normally do. So hopefully that will give us a little bit of time here. We can go through game by game. Means, I think, I saw you tweeting already. You're tweeting about the Orlando minutes. So I assume, is that where you want to start here?
Absolutely. That's these two teams are two of the safer teams when it comes to minutes I feel good about. So I tweeted this stuff. Clifford, like, holy cow, if every coach would say what Steve Clifford did in his pregame press conference, our jobs would be a lot easier. Like, he basically said, my main guys are going to play 24 to 25 minutes. Aaron Gordon is going to play no more than 16 minutes. These two bench guys are going to play 24 to 25 minutes. He literally did our job for us in lineup HQ. So I wish everyone would do what Steve Clifford just did. That is wishful thinking. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at with the Magic. Vooch is one. We have Vooch projected for the highest raw points on the slate because we have him at 24 minutes. So he's one of the safest spins you can have here. I really like Fultz at shooting guard. He's 5K. He's, we put these guys at 24 to 25 minutes. That's the max of what you can reasonably expect tonight, I think, is the best way to put it. If you get a guy to play 24 to 25 minutes tonight, you should feel good about that. Because even the younger guys, even if you want to call it garbage time or when it doesn't matter or whatever, even those guys, like, they're not going to be able to come in till later anyways. I just don't I don't reasonably expect anybody to get up to there who's going to be a fringe guy. So Magic perspective, yeah, Vooch, Fultz. I'm pretty much writing off Gordon at this point for reasons that Card said and I mentioned too. Some bench guys I like are like MCW, Cole Anthony. I'm gonna filter off. I'm gonna filter off everybody and just look at Orlando here. So like these guards, we have, like they said, he said Cole Anthony and MCW wants to play them 24 to 25 minutes. So we have them with really good projections. Like I said, I like Fultz. I just think Fultz is just his trajectory's kind of been like this in general since he got to Orlando. I think they say it's shooting better, whatever. That's probably coach speak and preseason, gobbledygook. But I still like him because he's going to be out there a bunch. He's going to have his hands on the ball a lot. So that's what I'm kind of looking at as main plays for Orlando. And just generally speaking, on everybody, I just want to say this so I don't forget. There's so many guys that we have projected to play for each team. I just cannot reasonably say, okay, Jordan Bone down here, 12 minutes in 4K. Could Jordan Bone go off tonight? Absolutely. Did I pick Jordan Bone on? Did I pick Jordan Bone on purpose to use it as my example? Of course I did. So, I'm not going to talk about all these fringe guys. Someone is going to have a flame emoji next to their name. He's going to have 30 DK points. You're going to wonder why you didn't play him. There's just no way to reasonably know who that's going to be. So I just want to point that out in general.
But it seems likely it will now be Jordan Bone.
Absolutely. And we will just clip this and use it for RG promotions going forward. And I'll speak real quick on Atlanta, then I'll pass it to Carr just since this is the same game. And then so Lloyd Pierce, the Hawks coach, he said, I'm playing no more. I think his quote was, I'm playing no more than 13 or 14 guys, and I'm playing everybody no more than like 24 minutes. I think that's a good thing. That means he's got those caps in his mind. That's where I think their main guys are going to play. And again, I said it earlier, these guys have not played a real NBA game since March 11th. These guys are going to be chomping at the bit to get out there and play. As far as all these new additions, that makes things a little tricky just because it was Trae Young and John Collins like nobody else. Yeah. They got Capella last year in the trade, but he didn't play because he's hurt. They got Kings Bogdanovic, who we have to now call Hawks Bogdanovic. They got Danilo Gallinari, who's presumably coming off the bench going forward to play backup 4. So there's a lot of new faces here, but Trae's still going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's one of the safer spins on the entire slate too. So I really like him. I do like John Collins. And I mean, Capella's the tricky part. We haven't projected for 60 minutes. He was questionable. If for some reason he sees these minutes get up to where the other guys we have him at, like you could see he's 5'6", and the other studs are like 7'4". Trae Young's 8'5", so you could see his projection go up quite a bit if he can sneak up to those 20 minutes as well. So those are the main guys I'm looking at. Again, there's tons of other options here, all in this 4K range. Gallows 4'9", like the whole. Bogdanovic 4'8". He's a really good option for this shooting guard small forward slot on DK. Cards and I were talking before the show started how much we like point guard and center tonight, and that kind of leaves like shooting guard and small forward and power forward as like the amp positions. So like Kings Bogdanovic, he has shooting guard, small forward. God, I just did it again. Hawks Bogdanovic, he has shooting guard, small forward eligibility, so he's a good option there. And then just plenty of other guys you can obviously play here. Reddish, Hoyter, Hunter, guys who we liked last year when they were a thinner team. Now they're a deeper team, but these guys are still cheap, can still play. So that's kind of my thoughts on these two teams. When it comes down to it, these are going to be two of my favorite. Like if you get in a pinch, I don't know who to take. Take a Hawk. Take a Magic player. Like I feel good about these guys getting their minutes tonight.
Okay, so that's kind of where I want to start with cards. Is that it seems cards like we at least have some sort of safety in these guys. So are these guys you're targeting for GPPs, or are these guys you're fading because you don't care about that safety and this is where the ownership is likely to be?
No, I mean it's a little bit different with a preseason build because it's sort of like you let the other people make the mistakes. And even if if you build some cash game style type lineups, you'll probably still do pretty well in GPPs, even in the preseason. So I still kind of go with that mantra of let other people make the mistakes. And, maybe you get a little bit deeper with some of the 4K players to try to be difference makers. But these lineups more so than like regular season lineups, I think that you'll still maybe kind of build them a little closer to the vest, even in a GPP setting. So, and I agree with the thoughts on this game being targetable. I like the fact that that Cole Anthony is not in the starting lineup for Orlando. So basically, Cole Anthony was a one and done in college at UNC. UNC was terrible last year. So, they didn't really get a lot of, national pub compared to where UNC would normally be. But his college stats last year, I pulled him up 35 minutes per game, took 16 shots per game in those 35 minutes, 6 3-point attempts per game, also 5.7 rebounds and 4 assists. So he is capable of contributing kind of across the stat sheet, and basically as maybe the scoring leader of that second unit. They're not going to ask, Michael Carter Williams isn't going to go out there and score a ton of points. And why not see what you got in Cole Anthony and let him get his feet wet in the NBA right away. And basically, Andy mentioned the minutes that he was one of the guys specifically mentioned that they're hoping to get to 24 to 25 minutes tonight. And the fact that he's coming off the bench, I think he'll have maybe a little higher usage with that second unit than he would have with the starters. So I like Cole Anthony. I think Carter Williams is fine as well. But I think you maybe get a little bit higher ceiling with Anthony. And I would prefer Fultz just for the 1,000 salary over Carter Williams. So Vucevic, Fultz, Cole Anthony, I think those are my primary targets on Orlando. I'm not touching Aaron Gordon, even in a multi-entry player pool with his minutes kind of being limited. I don't think Meansy mentioned Dwayne Bacon, but he's maybe one guy that is hurt a little bit. So he's the guy that is in the starting lineup, but might not get a ton of shots with that first group. So I think he's okay, but you don't necessarily need the salary relief. So maybe just a slight downgrade for him as well. On the Atlanta side, Trae Young is the clear play. I think he is the highest exposure player that I have in my lineup builds right now. You got to spend on somebody. And it feels like he's the safest floor in terms of minutes of those top end guys tonight. So both he and John Collins, I have at pretty high ownership. And then, I kind of agree with Meansy's comments on some of those other guys like Reddish and Hunter. They're fine. Maybe kind of not sexy, lower ceiling type of plays, but these Atlanta guys are going to get 22 minutes and, you're going to see we've got a lot more guys projected for 16, 18 minutes as we get to the other 4 games tonight. So that's my thoughts on that one.
Okay, great. Real quick question here coming in from the YouTube chat. This was from Marcus Terry. Which seems more likely to play their starters longer out of the two? It sounded to me like Orlando was like, we're targeting this amount of minutes, and the Hawks said we want them to play less.
Yeah,
than
it's probably the easy one. The easy answer is the Magic, just because they literally put a number on it, and Pierce was right there saying no more than 24, but he didn't say I want to play them for sure 24. So
that's what I got.
So Magic are the safer one, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. All right, let's roll on to the next game.
Yeah, and I'm not going to touch on this game yet, but I just saw some stuff for people who want to get their lineups going right now. Like Rockets beat writers just came out and said they want to play the starters for the Rockets around 20 minutes tonight. So I'm sure our guys are updating this behind the scenes, but we have Eric Gordon. I had Eric Gordon in my lineup because we have him at 24 minutes. Taking him down to 20, that's not nearly as appealing to me. So just want to point that out for people messing with their lineups right now. So I'm going to move to the New York Knicks and Detroit game. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about Killian Hayes first, just on the Pistons, just because he's going to be one of the most popular cheap guys. I mean, we obviously have him as one of the best we have him as the best point per dollar play on the slate. I wrote him up in a separate RotoGrinders article about rookie of the year odds. They're basically giving him the keys to the team. They have Derrick Rose there as the point guard, who they will say will be on a soft minutes limit this year. They have DeLon right there, who's other competition. This kid, he played overseas for several years. He has professional experience. Still a little rough around the edges, but Dwayne Casey really likes him, and they're giving him the keys. So that is enough right there. And he's one, cheap. So as far as minutes, we have him with one of the higher minutes projections too at 24. Casey did say he's going to play the Pistons, he's going to spread out minutes a lot tonight. So what I'm trying to say is I'm playing one lineup tonight. I'm going to play Killian Hayes just because I like him and I want to watch him and I want to see what he does. I also think he's going to be one of the highest owned cheap guys on the slate. I could not think of a better spot to fade. I'll let cards talk about it. Like, we don't know how this guy's going to be in the league. Like, and if he's going to be high owned on a freaking preseason slate on the Pistons, come on. So that's I'll let cards talk about that. That's my 2 cents. So yeah, the other Pistons, then just keeping on them. Like I said, Casey said he wants to spread stuff out. Like we have, Svi Mikhailuk for 21 minutes. Everyone else below 20. Someone's gonna pop off here. They're all cheap. Someone's going to have a handful of guys are going to have a good game. I'm not going to sit here and try to predict who that's going to be. I said in the article I like Blake because he's 5'3", and I think he's going to come out really aggressive because he hasn't played in a game forever either, just because he was injured so much last year. But man, like I'm not going to sit here and waste everyone's time saying this guy's for sure. This guy's absolutely going to be the guy. Like they're spreading minutes out. I don't know who it's going to be. Obviously, we want to play the better players. So like that's why I talked about Blake. Rose is a little too expensive for my taste on a slate like this, even though money's not too much of an issue. So like I like the cheap centers, like the 2 guys, Plumlee. The game notes listed Okafor is starting. I don't know if that's going to actually come to fruition. I would have guessed it's going to be Plumlee. Like these guys are good per minute players, but it's just tough to gauge who it's going to be because they're going to spread minutes out. So don't want to spend too much time talking on them because it truly is a crapshoot. And kind of similar on New York, honestly. Like even though Tibbs is the coach, he said at least the first game they're going to expand rotations, and I think he said they're going to play their main guys in 7-minute stints. I don't know how long that's going to last because he said they're going to play more guys than usual. So this is another situation where you're just not as comfortable with who it is. Like they're not even starting Mitchell Robinson; they're starting Nerlens Noel over him, who's a great per minute guy. They're starting Burks in the backcourt over Frankie Nicotine or somebody. So Burks has historically been a good point per minute producer too. He just got little different playing with Randall and Elf and things like that. But again, I don't have anybody I love here. Everyone's kind of like, there's going to be cheap plays that are going to do well tonight. I would target the front court, like Noel, if he's starting. I like Obi Toppin off the bench. The rookie, we have him. Where do we have him at? Where's Obi? Why am I blind? Why do I not see him?
I don't think he's in there. Is that
I'll check with Slack. He was in there earlier. I don't know if he, I don't know what happened. I'll get the guys on it after I'm done talking here because I am pretty much done because I don't think there's too much to go on about here. I really just target the guys who are good per minute producers and hope you hit one. None of these guys are going to be in my main lineup on either of these teams except for Killing Mace though.
Okay. Real quick reminder. This show is free. We've got hundreds of people on YouTube right now. These shows will not be free going forward. I think we have one more tomorrow that's free. Generally, this is a premium product. Now's a great time to sign up for the Core 4. Not only do you get this kind of analysis that you're seeing right now all the way through the season, but you also get NFL along with that. So go ahead, sign up for the Core 4 product. With that, keep that quick. Cards, what are you thinking here tournament-wise?
Yeah, Andy, pass that along. We've got Obi Toppin at 0 minutes right now, so something must have gotten messed up there. This will probably be the game that I have the least amount of exposure to on the slate, just because I don't think there's a guy you need to have on either side. I mean, I think, guys like Randall and Elf Payton are fine, but just, if they're only going to be playing 20 minutes and then we can get 22 or maybe 24 out of Trae Young, do you really want to be paying up for those guys? I think you could sprinkle them in if you're multi-entering tournaments, but we know a guy like Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, he's got per minute upside against, whatever Detroit throws out there for a front court at times in this game. And if it's Okafor at times, I mean, Mitchell Robinson could be one of the better point per minute players on the slate, just a matter of how many minutes he's going to get. So he's definitely a tournament target for me tonight. Killian Hayes, I think it's really scary to, take a stance against basically the guy that's going to be the chalkiest value. I have no idea what his ownership will be. Maybe it's 50%. So, if you're building 100 lineups, maybe you go 20 or 25 or something, and just because there's so many values. But certainly if you're single entering or if you're playing cash games, good on you if you're playing cash games on this, on these preseason slates. But again, it's where the money is there to be made. I think you got to have them in there. So don't love this game as a whole, though, especially Detroit. You're just going to see a whole lot of guys play 15, 16, 17 minutes. Probably got a little bit of more exposure to New York. But even there, I've only got, a handful of guys in my player pool. I think Barrett is okay at 4,700, but not the most targetable game here.
Okay, let's move on. Rockets Bulls is up next. Means.
And one thing, I know you mentioned like the core four and everything. I just wanted to point out too, like what you mentioned at the start of the show, what Alan and I were working on for the article. Like you'll get this too. Like we basically like this is Orlando Magic. Alan does a news and notes section, basically talking about who's going to play. He links tweets, what minutes might look like, and then I talk about DFS impact, and we do that. I mean, literally, this is what we do for the whole freaking thing. So if you sign up for Core 4, you'll get this for the preseason, and obviously a whole bunch more stuff for the regular season. So I just wanted to point that out for any newbies.
Do you kind of have to do that all day because news is constantly trickling in?
I mean, we also like hop in Discord, which you get access to. Like it's way easier to like just be chatting with everyone up on real time as opposed to constantly updating that. But Alan was for a certain amount of time adding the updates in as they're coming in. But NBA is a different animal, man. It's not the NFL where you have all week. It's just it's a different animal. So we try to utilize it in a bunch of different mediums. But all right, Houston and Chicago. So I also want to point out, I want to make sure I get this right. Because Houston just announced their starters too. My guy Boogie's starting. For those who aren't aware, one of my dogs' name is Boogie, so going to have a little bit of a affinity, bias towards Boogie. So he's starting.
Gotta have some exposure there, yeah.
Absolutely. And Jayshawn Tate, a guy they were talking about big time in training camp, is starting at the 4. So a little interesting. They're starting with Wall, Eric Gordon, and Daniel House. Daniel House apparently does not get punished for his house call at the bubble to get himself kicked out. So he's getting the start in their first game. All right, so let's see here. Who do I like on Houston? Well, now that they're talking about limiting minutes a little bit, not nearly as high. I was looking at Gordon for the most part just because, Harden's not playing. That's I kind of buried the lead. I'm assuming everyone knows that since he's kind of dominating the NBA news cycle these days. But Harden's out. Wall and high usage guys like Wall and then Christian Wood, one of their big additions in the offseason. He's not playing now, so they're kind of limited in the front court. Like if I just filter here by center and power forward, talking about guys like Boogie, Kenny Wooten, Bruno Caboclo. These are the guys that are going to be playing center minutes. And since no one's really topping out above 20, they're going to stick out. As you can see, we have plenty of guys here that are going to be getting minutes. So I don't really love anybody. No one on Houston, double checking. Yeah, no one on Houston's in the one lineup I'm playing tonight. If I was one guy I want to point out, Chris Clemens. The dude is a bucket getter. And when he's not out there with high usage guys, like if you put him in the corner with Harden out there, he's not going to do much. But if you put him out there, letting him have the ball and running the show, I think the guy is a very good per minute producer. I mentioned him in the article. I don't know if I mentioned stats, but he's a very good per minute producer. So he's a guy who I could see going off for like 20 real life points tonight just because, he's out there for pretty much a lot of the second half. So he's one guy I'll point out. And Jayshawn Tate, who I mentioned at the start, and he's, these guys are all priced in the minimum like a lot of their teams. So that's really what I'm looking at. No true like favorite plays. If you are playing cash games or like a main lineup or an optimal lineup, no one I'm really a fan of. Chicago. So what Billy Donovan said is they're playing their normal, basically 9 to 10 man rotation in the first half, and then he's expanding it in the second half. I don't know if that means that the starters are just going to sit in the second half. I don't think it does. I think it means they're going to get their first second half rotation and probably sit. He did say Otto Porter is going to play extensive minutes in the first half and then not at all in the second half. That's the one exception to what I just said. He is starting, but they're kind of they're easing him in since his he's had big time injury history. Didn't play much last year. So Levine is a guy who's popped up in a decent amount of my lineups. I had him in my main build earlier, and it's strictly because he's shooting guard eligible, and that kind of comes in handy because I mentioned I don't really like the position. So he's a guy I've actually landed on a fair amount. And then as far as main lineups, then Wendell Carter would be the other one. The tricky part is there's just a ton of other good options at power forward and center that I like better than him. So that's why he hasn't, been in my main build. Like I like Holmes and Cantor, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really it for this game. I don't love it. It's just hard to we talked about my favorite game at the very start, so it's hard to like get too excited about some of these guys, and it'll probably be the same in the next game too. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I know we're getting so much short on time, so I'll turn it over to Cards.
Okay, Cards. Let's talk about GPP plays here. And can you start with John Wall? Because am I the only one that thinks the dude hasn't played in 2 years and he wants to just remind the world that he's real, real good. But am I crazy for thinking that?
Well, I mean, they're not going to be done with him in his first game back. So, we've got him at 18 minutes. I think that's probably about right. Maybe if it was the second or third game, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable. I certainly have him in my player pool, but not to the extent of Trae Young. I think you could make a case for a Wall over Lillard if you wanted to. But I do like Houston. I think Houston is going to provide some GPP winners tonight. I think there are going to be some guys on this team that maybe get a little bit more in terms of minutes than some of the other teams that, that last game we talked about, and some guys from the last two. So players like House and McLemore, I mean, we've got those two at 26 minutes right now. They've lived to disappoint us in DFS over the years, but without Harden there tonight and, basically usage to be had, I think that one of those guys is going to be the key. Now, whether it's Caboclo or House or McLemore or Jayshawn Tate, who knows? But those guys are guys I think you need to sprinkle in. I think House, particularly since he's starting, is probably the one that feels the safest, but that's kind of a loose term on a slate like this. Bulls, less ownership there. They're going to play a lot of guys. I think that, Levine and Carter and Kobe White, I mean, guys like that are fine, but you're not getting a big discount there. I think I'd rather have the guys at similar prices on the Houston side. And, how many guys do we have projected for minutes for the Bulls? Like 16. So not a lot on the Chicago side for me tonight, but I do like Houston.
Okay. Means let's get into Clippers Lakers. This sounds amazing. There's a lot of great players, but we don't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, a little bit. And real quick, the Pistons did say Plumlee is starting over Okafor, so per usual, game notes were wrong. So I just wanted to lay that out there. I'm going to talk about these next two games just together. Since I get a little long-winded, I can just talk about it together because there's one team I'm really focusing on here anyways, and I'll get to that. I'll just talk about these last two games together. So, yeah, Lakers, Clippers. So AD's out, LeBron's out. Vogel makes it sound like he is really, taking it easy on the main guys tonight. And they have a lot of vets, even without the guys I just listed. Like they have Markieff, KCP, Marc Gasol, who I'm missing another one. Wes Matthews, that was the other one I was thinking. A lot of vets. So, I'm going to go with the younger-ish guys. Like, if I'm looking here, Lakers, Schroeder, Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, Talen Horton-Tucker, they're just raving about in camp who's going to compete for minutes. So that's what I'm looking at if I'm looking at Lakers, because I'm really concerned that you could be looking at a lot of reserves playing minutes for the Lakers team. Clippers, they said, quote, their guys are playing tonight. That's all we got so far. So if I'm talking about their main guys, like studs compared to Trae Young and the other guys we talked about in that early game, they're just going to take a step down for me. So I look at all these guys we have projected for Clippers. I have no idea what's going to go on. Jovan Bua, one of their best beat writers for the Clippers, he works at The Athletic. He said, I think it was an article yesterday, he said, assuming everyone plays, you have to expect it's going to be limited minutes for the main guys. So, it's just, they'll be fine, but, they're better spots. Get exposure to them if you're cards and you're max entering shit. But, am I allowed to curse on YouTube? Sorry. Okay, good. So that's really it. I have just no one I'm targeting here. Again, I want to target, younger guys, the Luke Kennards, I mentioned the article Lou Williams is 34, but he basically doesn't age, so I would even play Lou Williams. So I don't know. Not really a fan. That's why I didn't want to spend too much time on that game. So I want to talk about Sacramento. Sacramento-Portland's the last game. Last year, Luke Walton was the coach last year. First game of preseason. Their main guys played 30-plus minutes. The game went to overtime, and that's an easy way to say, oh, well, it went to overtime. Their main guys played in overtime. That says a lot to me, that he just doesn't care. And this preseason is condensed even tighter. So, if he's playing his main guys out of the gate last year, obviously it's way different. But that's why I'm liking Fox. I'm liking Holmes. I think you can put Fox up there as one of the safer spins too. Would I probably play Trae Young instead of him? That's kind of a toss up for me, just because I know that Pierce wants the Hawks to play up there. But what I'm saying is there's real upside to these guys getting upper 20 minutes, and I don't know if we can say that about anybody on the slate.
Yeah. Right.
Is it safe? No, because that was last year. There's a freaking pandemic right now. I have no idea. Everything's new. But last year he played his guys 30-plus minutes, and that is at least something. That's information we have. Yeah, so Holmes is one of the better cheap plays. They're thin in the front court. No Hassan Whiteside. I'll just move it over to Portland real quick because he's another good cheap play. Is like Enes Kanter. He's 4-1. Nurkic is out. Zach Collins is out. They're not going to – I don't think they're going to play their guys a lot tonight, though. So, I feel good about the 20 minutes basically topping out with these guys. We also don't have too many guys projected for minutes because they're beat up. They're missing guys. But they have, it's the preseason.
It's not a good sign.
No, we have the preseason. The rosters are bigger, so there's guys here. Cheap guys I like here. Harry Giles, 4K. He's a good per minute guy. Anthony Simons, I mentioned him in the article. They have no point guards on this roster besides Dame and McCollum when he can handle it. None. No other point guards. So if they're not going to play a lot, I could realistically see Simons playing all 24 minutes of the second half. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Maybe their starters come out to start the second half, but I could see him all 24 minutes in the second half. So those are kind of guys I'm looking at. I know it's tough to talk about everybody because there's so many freaking players we have projected, but that was great. I left you 5 minutes, Cards.
Yeah, well, and we have to take questions for 4 minutes. Cards, you get 60 seconds. No, I'm kidding. But go ahead. You can go through it.
I'm here when they let Cantor bring the ball up in the second half since they don't have any point guards. So totally agree on that game. I think that's probably the second highest targeted game, Sacramento-Portland, after the Orlando game there. So I've got 6 guys from the Kings in my player pool. So I think Fox, Holmes, the 2 guys that Meansy highlighted today, great plays at their respective positions. But again, that's point guard and that's center. And those are the spots that if you're playing on DraftKings, you're going to have more difficulty filling. So that's what adds value to a guy like Simons, because you can put him at a shooting guard spot. And that's absolutely where you're going to want to put him if you're playing him, because you should have no need to try to fill a point guard spot. So if there's anybody that's multi-position eligible that you can play at one of the wing positions, that's where you're going to want to play them tonight. So like all the guys that he mentioned in those that last game between Sacramento and Portland, I don't have anybody from the Clippers in my player pool right now, and I really don't feel that nervous about it. I think Kuzma and Horton Tucker are great values on the Lakers side. So just because you've got no LeBron, you've got no Anthony Davis. So you're going to see Kuzma and maybe Markieff Morris, guys like that get 20 some minutes. And Meansy mentioned all the veterans that they have. I mean, Jared Dudley is somehow still on the roster right now, and we've got him projected for 14 minutes tonight. So with all the veterans that they've got, and they're not going to push those guys out for extended minutes, you can get guys like Kuzma and Horton Tucker and Schroeder. I think those are the guys that you want to target on that Lakers side. So I think that about covers it.
Okay, great. We still have a couple minutes. I want to read this in the chat from Dylan. He says, for anyone in the chat who's not subbed to RG, it is well worth it. I made my money back in one weekend on NFL last week. Honestly, I find, and I think a lot of people have said this, NBA is where it's at. I always do great in NBA.
And you get both. Content. That's the best thing. You get both sports.
Yeah. You get both sports. So I think Devin's going to pop in that link here to sign up for the Core 4 one more time. But go ahead, sign up. We have a good time. We do this all year. It legitimately is something I enjoy. It's the highlight of my day every day is coming on here and doing this, which I don't know if that's sad.
Because there's no weather inside arenas except for New Orleans.
Right. Yeah, I don't have to stress about the weather. It's nice. I love basketball, so it's great. All right, we'll see if we can get 1 minute worth of questions here going. There's just a comment from Harold. He says, I'm playing a few guys from the first 3 games, loading up on the last 2. You okay with that, Cards? Loading up?
Not so much the LA game. I just don't see a whole lot of reason to load up on that one, but I do like that Portland game. So would maybe dial back the Clippers-Lakers game a little bit, unless there's something I'm missing there, man. I just don't see, particularly on the Clippers side, I don't see a whole lot of upside there tonight.
Max says, can you talk about what to do on FanDuel at small forward? It's terrible.
Let me
I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I know we kind of focused on DK here for this slate. Generally we do.
That's what it is. I mean,
hit something real quick.
The wing spots are tough to fill tonight. So I mean, it's probably,
I would trust the projections here and play. I'd be fine with Paul George. He's gonna play. If you get a first half of Paul George at this awful position, take it. Like he may play more. So I play him or top, and I trust the projections.
Right. And if you're not worried about the money you're spending on him, because
exactly.
Yeah.
They're all $100.
Exactly. Lowry says, DKGPP, you want Holmes or Cantor cards?
Boy, I like them both. I think it's really hard to ignore Cantor's per minute production when he's on the floor. I like him just a little bit more, but it's a toss-up.
Okay. And with that, Devin, I do believe we have done the thing. We have hit the
And
lock.
I want to, that's a good point or a good transition to say that FanDuel is doing late swap for preseason, and I'm assuming they're going to do it for the regular season. I saw some of their people say that. So I know that's different. I think they added that for the bubble last year, but they did not do that before the pandemic. So for those of you who are playing on FanDuel tonight and did not notice it, there is late swap on there tonight.
Okay, that is good to note. And you said you assume they're doing it for the regular season, but you don't know.
I'm pretty sure I saw one of our RG users in Discord say he communicated with someone at FanDuel support, and I think they said they were leaning that way. Hadn't made a final decision on it yet. They're probably waiting to see what the feedback is on preseason. Would maybe be my guess. So, but that's the lean apparently.
I feel like you kind of have to have it. Honestly, I don't know.
I get it. I used to be like 100% team late swap. There are a lot of people who like just want to hit lock and close their computers and just accept whatever happens. People got families. Like you can't do anything about it. Once everyone deals with the same stuff, even though people think it only happens to them. I definitely get it. I definitely get it for those people who just want to close their laptop and go do other stuff.
Let's see. We do have a few more questions coming in, and I'm in no immediate rush to get out of here, so maybe we'll hang out for another.
And I predicted that. And for those who are tuning in for the first time, I usually get a nice little bug in my ear / my phone from my wife saying I'm hungry. Tell Roth to shut up. Roth likes to just talk after lock for like 15 or 20 minutes, but I also eat dinner after the show. So yeah, she wanted to say, tell Roth to shut up. I know he's excited about the show, but I'm hungry.
Hi, Megan.
She's not even hungry. She just wanted to say
back, baby. All right, let's go to Hey Beer Man. DK Cash question for you. I've got 55 hundo at the forward spot. I'm looking at Blake and Kuz. You like one of those or somebody else?
Yeah, I was looking at us.
Yeah, his choice is already locked now anyway. If he's got Blake as one of the options,
he's got Blake,
he's not moving it now.
I got Kuzma in mind. I'm a little worried that he's going to he could see himself filter into the vet category, even though he's not a vet just because he's been there so long.
Yeah.
I have him just because I think he's going to shoot a ton with no LeBron and AD. So I have him. The Blake thing worries me a little bit now that since Casey said that minutes aren't going to be exactly abundant, but yeah, it's too late if you got Blake.
Yeah. Okay.
I would play Kuzma pretty comfortably over Blake, but again, you can't change that now if it's Blake that you got in there. So hopefully you went Kuzma.
You guys got any season-long NBA takes here for us? Who's the champ?
At what? Like who's like the best number one pick?
Yeah,
who's going to win the championship? Is that?
I thought you meant season-long fantasy. Sorry.
Oh no. Sorry. Yeah, no, just season, just NBA.
I'll let cards go.
I'm going to try to, you can throw out the favorites every year, but I'm going to try to pull up the futures right now and see what we've got at the moment.
While he's doing that, can I give everyone, if anyone is new out there into the NBA DFS foray, here's what we deal with on a nightly basis. So I mentioned the Pistons situation with the starter at center. Someone says game notes are Jahlil Okafor is at center. Then we have a beat writer say, no, this is actually who's starting. It's Mason Plumlee. Then the Detroit Pistons account just tweets out 4 minutes ago that Jahlil Okafor is starting at center because he's probably reading, whoever's running the Twitter account's probably reading the game notes. So trust the beat writers.
Yeah, but probably it is not Okafor, even though they just sent that
probably,
tweet out.
Yes.
Also, if you're new here, you'll quickly learn that Roth is the biggest Giannis fan on the planet. So,
so your picks the Bucks cards?
Yeah.
No, here's the odds right now. The Lakers are 3-1. The Clippers and the Bucks are 5-6-1, along with the Nets. And then it's the Celtics at 13, the Heat at 15, the Raptors at 20, and the Mavs at 22. Which
there you go.
Get Barea back in there, then they can.
Yeah, then you can bet it. Yeah,
pump that back up.
Those must have plummeted since Barea got waived.
Right.
It would have really, and this kind of got buried because they didn't end up making it, but I would have really been interested to see what the Suns could have done last year if they would have made the playoffs, right? They went undefeated in the bubble, right?
Yeah, right. 9-0
and didn't get the help they needed at the end to get in there. So, it's hard to bet against the top 3 or 4 teams in the NBA, just the way the teams are constructed right now. But, I think a team like that, like Phoenix is 40-1. I certainly don't think they're going to win the championship, but as a team to maybe make a deep run or bet, I would bet the over on whatever Phoenix's win total is. That's my hot take for now. I think they're going to keep some of that momentum rolling into the season and have a good year.
I like it. Means you got a take for us there?
It's hard to actually stand for betting on anyone besides the Lakers just because they are the clear favorites. But we saw last year, with the Heat getting there, that sometimes stuff just goes different. And sometimes teams get hot.
It's just hard to bet 3-1 on a team to win a championship.
Exactly. So as far as odds, yeah, that's why when I wrote an article saying I like Philly. They have a new coach. They have one of the best GMs. If those two guys in there, just those two new front office / coaches get the best out of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. By the way, the team that everyone was saying was going to the finals at the start of last year, because of stuff they did, you can get them at great odds. Because if they can just get to the finals, I think anything can happen there. But I think
and it's the East
and it's the East, yeah. So even then, even just take them to win the East too, you probably get good odds at them to win the East because probably the Heat, Nets, Celtics, Raptors probably all have lower odds than the Sixers. Stuff like that is kind of similar to the Clippers. Everyone was saying the Clippers were going to win it last year in the bubble. Even when games were going on, a lot of people still thought the Clippers were better than the Lakers, and that just looked foolish after a certain amount of time. So try to get those short-term things out of your memory, I guess. And the Clippers are bringing back a lot of the same guys. They have Ibaka now instead of Harrell. That's an upgrade. So they have Kennard now instead of Shamet. That's an upgrade. So they have a new coach. Maybe everyone will be on board now better with the new coach. Who knows, a new voice. So just little stuff like that. So I would say Clippers, Sixers are some of my favorites to take stabs on.
All right. My bet is that the 76ers do not make it. Sorry. Never mind. We'll go on. Hang on. I got a question real quick. I just got distracted by this. Let me pull this up. We want a thumbs up here from Braden Biglaw. Thumbs up game?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought you meant you want everyone who's watching the video to give a thumbs up on YouTube.
No. But do that too.
Do that too.
Yeah. Thumbs up, like, subscribe. But Braden wants to give his lineup and wants to know if we can give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. It is Lillard, Schroeder, Leonard, Montrezl, Casel, Williams, Anthony, Zubac. Oh, that's Gasol, but it was with a C.
I like how the last 3 went, but overall, not my favorite.
Same
cards.
Same. Too many vets in there. That's one of the traps that you can fall into with some of these preseason games. I think they're better spend ups to use in that lineup.
Yeah. And Dylan also in the chat saying, I don't know, man, you got a lot of old guys in that, which is kind of where we stand.
Is that what people say about me when I'm on this show?
Yeah.
Old guys.
I don't know. You got a lot of old guys. Got a little salt and pepper over there. Means got a little bit old.
Don't worry. When things get back to normal, I'm getting rid of this crap.
Oh, does that
mean touching this stuff up? I'm trying to look younger.
That's ridiculous. Don't do that.
Oh yeah.
Don't do it. It's ridiculous. Just age gracefully and normally. Just you're not a spring chicken. If you're 20 and you're going gray, fine.
I mean, I wasn't 30, so maybe I should have done it 8 years ago.
Nah, let it go. That's ridiculous. Don't do that.
Okay.
Also, if you're going bald, you just got to grow a beard. That's my plan soon.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm just going to grow a beard. And it just distracts. Oh, yeah, it's coming. It's coming soon. And it just distracts from. We've got a guy in chat named Bearded Baldy. I love. He gets it.
He's a hero.
Then you got Cards over here who looks the exact same since I started subscribing to RotoGrinders years ago. This has not aged one bit. So we need to drink that water.
The funny thing is, every time I get my hair cut, she always mentions, "Oh, you got some grays up in here." So And it's funny because like I think, I don't know, the old wives' tale is that you get your hair tendencies from your mother's side of the family, but
Right.
my dad was bald, like Dan Bach bald, by the time he was like 40. So thankfully I didn't get that, but
My mom and her two sisters were all white-haired by like 28. So this is
there you have it.
pretty
right.
All right, quick Cards. It was nice working with you. Now that you used the phrase Dan Bach bald, you'll never be welcome back. Dan is watching right now. Just
that's an adjective.
off the list.
he owns it. He owns it.
We got Bazinga here in chat says, "Hey Roth, ask if they're surprised with Hayes at 25%, or do you think that's right?"
I thought it'd be higher, but I've also been staring at our projections all day, so I don't know. Like I think people are asking about like if we're gonna have projected ownership. It's just tough to know.
Yeah.
Because you can't like see what other industry peeps are doing, really, because we have too many people offering stuff.
We're in a little bit of a bubble. I mean, if you're in a lower dollar GPP, there's going to be some people that are just firing bad lineups in there.
Yeah.
So
right.
You know, I think I saw a tweet where somebody said he's like 12% on FanDuel. So, you know, it's just comes with the preseason territory.
Yeah. Lowry says, in Houston, you like McLemore or House? I can never get these two guys right. Just going back to last year, I can never figure out which one I want.
I like with no Harden. I like House just because he does more. McLemore basically lives and dies by open threes, and I don't know if he's going to get those without Harden playing.
Yeah, same. I like House as well.
Okay, great. You know what, guys? I think we've answered the questions here. I'll give one last little shout out. Join the crew. Join the posse. The NBA Crunch Time posse. Cards, you will be on the show more often this year, right?
I believe so. So I'll join the posse.
Welcome to it. Anybody there in the YouTube channel, jump on. You know, join Core 4. Get on our Discord. It's always a good time. We hang out. We answer questions, and we generally have a good time doing it. New York Giants fan says it's just good having you guys back.
Yeah,
that's how I feel, man.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, New York Giants fan.
Yeah, that's how I feel, man. It's good to be back. Kind of woke up this morning and was already just like kind of buzzing, excited about it.
The first place New York Giants.
Oh God. And I'm a Giants fan, and I don't even know how to feel about this. Like, it's so awkward. All right. I think with that, we can get out of here. Generally, if there's 3 of us, I say goodbye for all, but it's the first one. So Cards, why don't you say goodbye, and then Meansy, you could say goodbye. We'll run through it.
Oh, we'll have a little send off here. Well, appreciate everybody checking us out. The first preseason slate of the year. Hopefully everything breaks in your favor tonight, and be sure to check out everything over at RotoGrinders. Lots of good stuff. I'm pretty involved in the golf. We've got like a 2 or 3 week break here, so trying to enjoy that. But golf will be back hot and heavy starting the first of the year. We got the NBA regular season around the corner, NFL regular season winding down. So plenty of good stuff to check out over at RG, and we hope to see you there.
Meansy.
Yeah. Anybody who's been around with us for a while, I'm glad you guys are back. Glad you guys are watching. Anyone who's new, come join us, man. It's a lot of fun. We're accessible. We have tons of information. You get a lot of sports. So hopefully you guys hop on board with us. And yeah, like Ross said, man, I'm just glad NBA is back. It's going to be a great season. Hopefully we can make it through the whole way and not have any issues. But I trust their leadership for sure. So yeah. Enjoyed doing the show. Enjoyed interacting with everybody today too. Let's get it this year, guys.
I like it. Let's do it. All right. For Cards, for Means, for Devin, executive producer Devin, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow for free. Again, you have been crunched.